foreign enemy of superior force. This act of war precipitated a kind of 19th century arms race. The contest would lead to the construction of a series of super forts designed to stand guard over the nation's greatest cities and defend the homeland. The largest of these was Fort Delaware.
If you think about a stealth fighter that we have today that repels radar and so on, this is designed a lot that way too, because the angles of the walls deflect cannon from getting a straight one-on shot, so it bounces off and so on. It's just extremely subtle.
In the end, this massive stone structure would serve not as an obstacle to foreign invasion, but as a makeshift city for thousands of Confederate prisoners during the Civil War. Men like English-born Confederate Private James Franklin.
My heart sank within me when the ominous name of Fort Delaware was whispered among the men. I had heard so many fearful tales of this place, told by men who had been prisoners here, that my imagination had shaped it into something resembling the notorious Black Hole of Calcutta. Pea Patch, as our boys frequently call it, in allusion, I suppose, to its size, is an island of about a mile in circumference, situated on the Delaware River, about 44 miles nearly south of Philadelphia. The river at this point is about 5 miles wide. Opposite the eastern side of the island is the shore of New Jersey. On the west side is Delaware. The fort is on the south side of the island, from the few moments I had for observation. I should not consider it to be of great strength. It is built of granite and mounts some 150 guns.
We have here, diplomatically, politically, this is where you're going to learn the real story of the American Civil War.
Conduit to Philadelphia. Its defense was crucial to the survival of the nation. Some 40 miles south of the city, where the channel narrowed, was a small marshy island known as Pea Patch. It would serve as the location for the nation's greatest undertaking of military engineering of the time. Brevet Major John Sanders oversaw the construction of Fort Delaware. It took over a decade and cost more than $1.3 million. Millions of bricks and thousands of tons of stone were used to complete the defensive wonder. In January of 1861, as the Union drew closer to inevitable war, Fort Delaware held a small garrison of 20 soldiers. By the end of the year, hundreds were stationed there, and the first Confederate prisoners had arrived. The armament of the fortress continued in anticipation of a naval assault. By the time it was fully armed, Fort Delaware would house 156 heavy guns of 5 calibers, capable of launching a devastating assault on approaching ships as far as 3 miles downstream. They would never be fired in defense of the fort. The escalating Civil War brought a constant barrage of new prisoners. Month by month, the population of Pea Patch grew, straining the fort's resources and requiring increasing numbers of services. During his confinement, Confederate prisoner and artist Max Noyes would meticulously record images of the daily life in this unique community, including the fort mascot, Bill the Cat. Prisoner ranks of enlisted men suffered the harshest living conditions, but Union guards fared little better. Confined on less than 75 acres with no real hope of escape, They suffered the brutal heat of the summers and deadly cold of cruel winters. Disease and discomfort made life nearly unbearable, and there was little to distract the prisoners fully from their hardship and misfortune. Residents of Peapatch were separated from the rest of the state by a mile-wide stretch of the Delaware River, but nothing could stop news of events at Fort Delaware from reaching the mainland. Suffice to say, life at the fort was the talk of the town in Delaware City, and well beyond. Citizens were acutely aware of and involved in life on the island. Some petitioned for humanitarian aid to prisoners or guards, depending on their loyalties. Some of the personalities at the fort took on an almost celebrity status. Personalities like the Missouri Swamp Fox, General Jeff Thompson, and political prisoner Reverend Isaac Handy were well known amongst the locals. The same could be said for Union leaders like the charismatic General Alvin Sheff. In what was now a well-established community on Peapatch, men on both sides prayed for an end to the war. As the days and months dragged on, residents simply tried to persevere until the day that they could return home.